she was, I think, understanding clearly what had happened. And I think she was starting to see that other people were responsible than who she previously had believed.
Diddy hated Pac. Facts. hated his guts. Hated him. Hated him.
The courtroom was so dead quiet you could hear the bailiff's watch ticking like a time bomb. Then, out of nowhere, the man in the witness box leaned forward, grabbed the mic, and dropped 5 words that ripped open almost 30 years of silence. "I'm sorry," he said. Biggie's fans in the gallery gasped so loud it echoed. Cameras went wild, snapping shots like crazy. A lawyer on the left side fumbled her papers and dropped back like she got smacked in the chest. This wasn't some weak little confession. This was the alleged trigger man finally cracking after all these years. Maybe from guilt, maybe from fear, or maybe something even darker hiding in the shadows.
The only man currently facing charges in the case, Dwayne Keefe D. Davis, claims that Sean Combs, also known as Diddy, paid for a hit on Tupac. Right now, Davis is fighting for bail ahead of his trial, which he has pleaded not.
This guy, we're keeping his name on ice for now, didn't just confess. He blew the whole lid off. In his sworn testimony, he claimed he wasn't alone. Not even close. He said it was a straight-up paid hit. Yeah, you heard that right, paid. And he started naming names, linking it all the way back to Suge Knight's camp. According to his chilling confession, Biggie was just a piece on the chessboard. Just another move in a savage game that had nothing to do with music beef or ego fights between coasts. This was about power, control, and keeping mouths shut. Imagine it. A hit going down under the LA lights, right in front of the Peterson Automotive Museum, with cameras flashing and fans hanging around outside. It wasn't messy or random. It was planned down to the last detail. Now, with this wild confession, we're all being dragged deep into the dark alleys of an industry that's been stacking cash off this silence for decades. Who put the money up for Biggie's head? Who gave the final green light?
The only man currently facing charges in the case, Dwayne Keefe D. Davis, claims that Sean Combs, also known as Diddy, paid for a hit on Tupac. Right now, Davis is fighting for bail ahead of his trial, which he has pleaded not.
The hitman said the cash flowed through middlemen connected to Suge. But then he paused. And that's when everything went sideways. Right there, in the middle of this courtroom earthquake, he threw out the name everyone had on their mind, but no one had the guts to say out loud, Diddy! Not saying Diddy ordered it straight up, but his whole world is crashing down fast under old secrets and new legal heat. The courtroom exploded into chaos. Outside, Biggie's fans were crying, screaming, and losing it. Between the courthouse and downtown, a new wave of doubt and anger spread through the streets like wildfire. If Biggie's shooter got paid off, then how deep does this cash trail really run? We've been hearing about Detective Greg Kading's claims for years. His investigation into Biggie's murder laid out a spooky trail that led straight to Wardell Poochie Faust, a known blood affiliate. This dude was the guy Suge Knight allegedly trusted to handle business. But here's where it gets wild. Suge didn't even reach out himself. Instead, it was his girlfriend back then who stepped in as the middlewoman. She set up the hit, moved the cash, locked the deal, and in return, she got an immunity agreement so clean it looked like it was written before the ink even hit the paper. Fans felt stabbed in the back. Prosecutors called it tactical. Biggie's mom? She didn't hold back. She called it straight-up injustice. This new courtroom bombshell has thrown gasoline on an old fire. People ain't just mad, they're raging. Not just about the big names popping up, but about how long this twisted game has been allowed to keep rolling. Suge already locked up, drowning in endless court battles. Meanwhile, Diddy is fighting his own hurricane. Federal prosecutors out here scrambling to find a missing witness in his racketeering and exploitation trial.
Yes. Yes. He hated every bit of it. I remember one time, he was like, who did you grow up listening to? I'm like, Tupac. I ain't mentioned Biggie. That nigga ain't even talk to me for like 4 days after that. Everything with Pac, like, you couldn't say Pac was anything better than Biggie. Listening to Biggie too, And I just felt I felt Pac differently, you dig? I wasn't shooting down Biggie, you dig? Nick loved Biggie, you heard me? Believe that. But Pac made me feel a different way. Pac made me feel him. Biggie made me listen to him, bop to him, with his cadence. But Pac made me feel away. That's my opinion. That's just a perception of me. I could be wrong, but when you listen to Tupac, bro, he touch you differently. Biggie make you feel him. Pac make you. He damn near put a battery in your back and make you go.
The tension in the streets is thick. Biggie's death might have been just one scene in a much darker, uglier production. When you start digging into the money moves, and trust we did, it starts smelling real funky. Biggie's estate is now valued at over $160 million. A big chunk of it just got sold off to Primary Wave Music, half his rights gone. And peep the timing. Just weeks after the passing of Oleta Wallace, Biggie's mother and the ultimate protector of his legacy. She was still deep in the talks, reportedly right up to her last days. Now, insiders are whispering that this deal got rushed, forced forward by estate handlers with ties to major industry players, including some of the same names popping up in shady civil suits and secret settlements. And let's not forget the cash trail. Court docs and inside sources say a fat bank transfer went down just days after Biggie got taken out. We're talking 6 figures, easy. The money moved from an account linked to someone close to Suge Knight to an unknown recipient that still ain't been named in public yet. Prosecutors think this money transfer might be the smoking gun they've been chasing for years. If it really proves what everybody's been whispering, that someone in Suge's crew put cash on Biggie's head, then we're not just dusting off an old case, we're cracking open a brand new war. Just like that, the whole East Coast versus West Coast story starts falling apart. It wasn't just some rap beef, it wasn't about pride or hot lyrics. It might have been a cold-blooded operation, straight up planned to shut down a rising king and flip the power game in the whole music biz.
And that was to destroy East Coast rap. And what I mean by that, and I know people gonna be like, yo, Gene is out of his mind and everything like that. Check this out, brother. And they was getting a lot of money to make albums and records. When they had guys down south that these labels was paying $250,000, $300,000 on record deals, and these guys was bringing back platinum albums and everything like that. So what they had to do was, they had to keep New York rap.
At the time Biggie was killed, he didn't even own most of his publishing rights. Diddy's Bad Boy empire held the keys until later when Ms. Wallace fought back and bought them out. Now that catalog is getting chopped up, flipped, and sold like pieces of candy, turned into brand deals and quick cash grabs, makes you wonder, was Biggie worth more gone than alive? And just when you think it can't get messier, another bomb drops. That same immunity deal Suge's girlfriend got? Turns out it was only valid if she never messed with the official story. But here's the wild part. Private chats now coming to light in leaks and court docs show her hinting that more people were in the mix. She even suggested the real order came from higher up. One source claims she mentioned coastal interests and catalog leverage, all code for choosing money over real lives. Meanwhile, Diddy's legal fortress is cracking big time. His massive trial is right around the corner, and prosecutors are running around trying to lock down their star witness, a woman with serious allegations of long-term abuse. But she's vanished. Her lawyer's gone radio silent. People are saying she might have been threatened, scared off, or even paid to disappear. Whatever really went down, one thing's loud and clear. This ain't just one crime we're talking about. It's decades of unchecked power moving in the shadows behind the bright lights of fame. And right there is where all the conspiracy theories take a wild turn into some dark, dangerous territory. 'Cause if Biggie really got taken out as just collateral damage, then who was the real target? Some folks say it was a straight-up message to Diddy, a loud warning from West Coast heavy hitters telling him to stay in his own lane. Others think it was payback in a wild revenge loop for Tupac's unsolved murder just months before. And in both these twisted stories, the same names keep bouncing around: Suge, Diddy, Keef D, and now, thanks to a 143-page bombshell transcript from a secret police interview, everything's getting flipped on its head. In that interview, Keef D, the same dude now waiting to stand trial for Tupac's killing, claimed Diddy once stood in a room full of people and said he'd give anything for Suge's head.
What was the backstory behind that? Big Mom calling you.
My man, that had to be, if I say exhilarating, it has to be one highlights of coming out here. I used to be hurt because I knew the people that she had around her was Puff Boys. So we could never connect like that. So only time I tried to connect with Miss Wallace is when she needed me and she used Perry Sanders to call me.
He didn't drop Tupac's name at first, but when they pressed him, he added, "Yeah, that dude too." It wasn't a direct order, but on the streets, a hint is all it takes. Keef said the price tag was a cool $1 million. He claims the money got moved through middlemen, and one of those guys, a man named Zip, conveniently gone now, so he can't say a word. Now with Biggie's alleged shooter finally cracking, Tupac's alleged shooter about to face the music, and Diddy stuck in the legal fight of his life, we're staring at a truth nobody in the game wants to see blasted out in the open. And just as the dust starts to settle, that shady bank transfer pops back up. The one made just days after Biggie's murder. It's got folks asking, was this all about revenge, business, or something way darker lurking in the shadows? The deeper you dig, the wilder it gets. According to a leaked LAPD memo that's been hidden in a confidential file for over 20 years, Biggie wasn't meant to be the final chess piece. That secret doc, handed over quietly to federal agents in the early 2000s, described a rumored coordinated hit list aimed at East Coast stars. Names like Nas, Busta Rhymes, even DJ Clue were labeled as high-profile disruptors that needed to be silenced. Man, the game was way more twisted than anyone ever imagined. These weren't just enemies of some record label. They were seen as straight-up obstacles standing in the way of a full-on takeover. West Coast dominance wasn't just a dream. It was something they planned to enforce by any means necessary. That memo warned about upcoming hits dressed up to look like random street violence. Then, like magic, it disappeared from official records. So what was this really? A rap beef that spiraled out of control? Or a surgical purge, wiping out anyone bold enough to block what Death Row Records was turning into? A powerhouse machine run on fear, blind loyalty, and dead silence. The more you follow the paper trail and shady motives, the clearer it gets. Biggie's fate was never about some rap battle or old-school rivalry. It was about locking down an empire. Biggie didn't get dropped because of what he rapped about. He was taken out because of what he stood for and how dangerous his rise was to the game's power players. And no one felt that loss harder than Valletta Wallace. Biggie's mother wasn't just a heartbroken mom, she was a warrior. After her son was gunned down in LA, she did the unthinkable. She went straight at the system. She took the LAPD to court for wrongful death, saying loud and clear that certain cops were working hand-in-hand with death row affiliates. She named names, shouted about corruption, filed motions left and right, but every move she made was met with brick walls. In 2003, the FBI even admitted that crucial files went missing from the Shakur Smalls Task Force archives. Suspicious, right? These missing pieces conveniently blocked links between rogue cops and the crew Biggie's confessed assassin is now pointing to. She once said, "My son was my best friend. I miss him a lot." Her lawsuit dragged on for years. LAPD wouldn't settle. Judges kept stepping down. Evidence vanished. It drained her to the core, emotionally, financially, spiritually, but she never gave up. In her own words, "I will never stop fighting." "My son's legacy is not for sale," she declared. But even 2 decades later, the justice she fought for still sits stuck in limbo. The same men she stood up against, they got promoted, retired, or hid behind sealed court files, stacking silence like poker chips. At this point, we're way past talking about some music tragedy. This is straight-up institutional betrayal, a dirty system that buried the truth under shiny badges and endless paperwork. And that brings us right back to the man many saw as Biggie's closest brother, Sean Puff Daddy Combs. Out in public, Puff played the grieving best friend, the broken mogul who walked behind Biggie's casket in that unforgettable Brooklyn farewell. Head down, dark shades on, acting like the pain was eating him alive. But behind closed doors, former bodyguards and industry insiders been singing a whole different tune? Gene Deal, one of Puff's ex-security guys, has been saying for years that Puff ignored big red flags. Gene claims Puff was told straight up, "Don't go to LA." The tension was at boiling point, and Biggie showing up right after Tupac's murder? Straight dangerous. According to Gene, Puff got briefed on all kinds of threats. Rival crews were out there lurking, waiting for a shot at revenge. But guess what? They still rolled out, still touched down in LA, and after the hit went down, Gene says Puff started cutting himself off from the people who saw it all. No big security meetings after, no joint statements, nothing. Just pure, heavy silence. And that silence? Folks close to the scene said it was louder than any gunshot. Now, to be clear, there's no hard evidence that Puff knew about the setup, but that timeline? It's got fans scratching their heads to this day. Why wasn't hotel security beefed up? Why was Biggie's location splashed out at a party full of known rivals? Why was the car sitting there so open like a sitting duck? Questions that still echo through the streets, years after the smoke cleared. Why, if Gene Deal's words hold weight, did Puff start dialing phones that night? And not to call the cops, but to ring up his lawyers? We might never get the whole raw truth, but that confession that dropped in court last week, it changed the whole game. Suddenly, the old story about this being just some random gang drama doesn't cut it anymore. This was planned out, bankrolled, and carried out like a military operation. Which pushes us straight into the toughest question yet. Was Puff just another piece caught up in the chaos, or did he know way more than he ever let slip? In the final stretch of his life, Christopher Wallace wasn't just watching over his shoulder, he was carrying a dark weight that most folks couldn't even see. In that now legendary radio interview on March 5, 1997, just 4 days before he was killed, Biggie laughed nervously, making jokes about his own funeral. He talked about the paranoia swirling around him, saying stuff like, "They're coming for me," walking that thin line between jokes and raw fear. For years, people thought Biggie was just hyping up his tough guy image. But now, looking back with that assassin's confession on the table, those words hit way different. He wasn't just acting, he was predicting. Sources close to Biggie say he changed heavy during that LA trip. The man known for cracking jokes and lighting up rooms turned into someone quiet, deep in thought. He started asking for extra hotel security, grilling folks about side exits, and even bounced to a new hotel in the middle of the night after getting a sketchy call from an unknown number. One source says that call ended with, "You shouldn't be here." Nobody knows exactly what else was said before or after that line. But the very next morning, Biggie's whole crew moved to the Peterson party location under strict instructions. It was clear as day, he felt eyes on him. And maybe by that point he knew he was being hunted way closer than his own people could even imagine. What makes this whole thing even colder is that Biggie was in his ultimate creative bag when it all went down. Life After Death was about to drop. An album dripping with irony and straight-up prophecy. The man was rapping about legacy, fate, and death in a way that felt like chilling warnings, not just catchy metaphors. Songs like You're Nobody hit different now. They felt more like final letters than bars. Biggie wasn't just rhyming about dying. He was living in the middle of that energy every single day. From Tupac's recent murder to all the threats popping up around him, Biggie's last days were drowning in that heavy feeling of, "It's coming." And even with all that, he still pulled up to perform, cracked smiles in interviews, and tried to play it cool in front of the cameras. But behind the flash and microphones, he was a man already halfway into ghost territory. This wasn't some wild paranoia. This was straight-up premonition. A sharp mind catching all the vibes from an industry machine dead set on shutting him up forever. And the most heartbreaking part, he knew it. He felt it. He spoke on it. Biggie didn't get caught slipping at that LA intersection. He was standing there bracing for it. He carried that weight in his chest every single night, couldn't sleep whenever that phone lit up with no name on the screen. Every time he stepped in that bright spotlight, he knew exactly what kind of shadows were creeping around him. His death wasn't just a tragic ending, it was a final warning coming true. One he kept trying to shout out, but nobody truly heard until it was way too late. Now, all these new confessions and leaks aren't just revealing one man's truth. They're busting open a whole underworld that's been hiding behind gold records and red carpets for decades. Industry insiders say 2 more names are about to drop soon. Alleged accomplices who helped push the plan and move the money behind Biggie's last moments. One of them, still working inside the business right now. The other, vanished in 2003 after quietly settling a different lawsuit tied to death row affiliates. Man, this rabbit hole just keeps going deeper. Their real names never saw daylight, but with all this new heat, that might change real quick. The case is getting cracked back open, subpoenas flying like confetti. Prosecutors who once buried those dusty files, they're now circling back, hungry for answers. And with the hitman's bombshell confession shaking the whole foundation, investigators are tearing through financial records, travel logs, phone taps, everything. It's only a matter of time before the rest of these hidden pieces snap together. 'Cause if this was really about stacking money and flexing power, the real question ain't just who squeezed the trigger, it's who cashed in after the smoke cleared. So we gotta ask, was Biggie's life cut short to protect someone's empire? Who pocketed the most from shutting him up? Who slid right into that empty throne while the city was still grieving and candles were still burning? We're not tossing out names yet. But you better believe we're watching every single move as this trail starts heating up. Biggie's legacy, Christopher Wallace, deserves nothing but the raw, uncut truth. No filters, no sugarcoating, no industry cover-ups. No matter how wild or uncomfortable it gets. And now it's on you. Could this whole deadly plot have been cooked up from the inside? Did they sacrifice Biggie's life for catalog rights and power grabs? Drop your wildest theories in the comments. Don't hold back for a second. This rabbit hole is stretching deeper and darker than we ever imagined. Until next time, stay sharp, question everything, and always read between the beats.